Good evening, I'm your host Sam Matheny, and alongside me is my co-host Matt Bruzas. We ask you to please excuse our momentary interruption of sports from your regular daily schedule. Let's get right into it. The XFL has a new owner in Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, and so far it's looking good for a rebound. Just recently, the Canadian Football League came out to say it's in talks for a merger with the XFL. Will this merger finally make the XFL successful?
I think it will, because specifically of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, because of the passion, the motivation, and determination that he brings everywhere he goes. We've seen it in the movies, we've seen it in what he's done in WWE. I think this is a great addition for not only Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, but for the players of the XFL, because it's giving them a chance to compete and have a platform to show all these NFL scouts or NFL scouts that are looking for quarterbacks or any other player. Like if you take example for PJ Walker, for example, he started out with the Houston Roughnecks, and now he's the backup quarterback for the Carolina Panthers. And especially all across college football, like these players need a place to play, and I think this gives them the chance to go and perform. And again, it's great for the fans too, to give them a chance to have football in the spring.
But do they need to play past their college career? The main question here is that, do they actually need to play? I mean, if they're not that good to make it to the next level, why give them a participation trophy and throw them in a league that makes no sense? The spring football has been a joke in America for a long time. I mean, once you get past the Super Bowl in the NFL, everyone's kind of done with it. They're already ready for the next season in the sport. So that's why I think that they just can't compete with people like the NFL.
Yeah, I do agree that there's no room for the XFL or Canadian Football League being in the fall, because obviously that's dominated by the NFL. But if they do it in the spring, I think there's enough people to have a market for a season, an XFL season in the spring. Because if you're talking about, because fans are passionate and they'll go to games. Like if we see the same teams that were in the 2019 season, the 2020 season, then I think people will have an interest for the XFL. Because I think people are always looking to see who's the next quarterback and who can be the next startup quarterback. Luis Perez, for example, he was a quarterback at Texas A&M. He threw at Louisville's Pro Day, and he absolutely showed out. He's got all the tangibles of Zach Wilson. He's being compared to him. I think this is a great way for these players to get exposure and be able to continue playing. And it's all about for the love of the game. That's why they're doing it.
Luis who?
Luis Perez. He was a quarterback at Texas A&M. He's 6'1", 220. He can be a good backup quarterback in the NFL. And I really think that it's all about having good exposure in this new league. And if they don't have a platform to do it, then they're not going to be successful.
But they compete with MLB. That's America's pastime. That's the MLB. And that's what I think really gives them a point of they don't have much to compete. They have a lot to compete with.
Yeah, but I also think the XFL could be more exciting than Major League Baseball.
I still don't agree. But anyways, next up, the Milwaukee Brewers 2021 season outlook. We'll be right back here with more PEOMIOSFYRDS.
Warhawks know what it takes to become champions. At the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater, our student athletes pursue excellence with a determination that inspires everyone on campus. Warhawks are smart. Warhawks are strong. Warhawks value service. We prepare our student athletes for life after college. The University of Wisconsin-Whitewater. Come be part of the Warhawk family.
UWW-TV has been an important part of the campus and community since 1980.
Not only providing on-air learning opportunities for broadcast journalists and electronic media production students,
but educating and entertaining our audiences with award-winning news, live sports coverage, original programming,
as well as dedicating the mission to developing creative collaborations throughout campus.
For more information, visit our website, our 24/7 stream, and like us on Facebook.
Check us out, because you gotta see what's on UWW-TV.
UW-Whitewater Athletics, a relentless pursuit of excellence across 22 sports, powered by a tradition of success. 20 national championships, 17 since 2002. 61 individual national titles. 24 National Athletes of the Year. 616 All-Americans. 115 Conference Scholar Athletes of the Year. 1,500 community service hours annually. Be a part of the tradition and join the Warhawk family.
Here at UW-Whitewater Intramural Sports, we have a motto: a sport for everyone and everyone in a sport. Come on!
intercepted anyways. Oh, she got that off, and they're going to count it.
Had a blast. Always have fun at intramurals.
Every day we strive to go above and beyond that goal by providing healthy exercise, promoting leisure education, and giving students that competitive atmosphere they are looking for.
Yes! Yes!
It's exciting. Brings me back to those high school days with Friday Night Lights.
With our 25 different intramural sports offered, we guarantee that we have a sport for you. Go to our website and find your sport today.
While paper facial coverings can only be used once, other facial coverings should be washed after every use to reduce the risk of spreading germs. Some facial coverings can be laundered, but washing them with soap and water in the bathroom is also an effective and efficient method for disinfecting. The students shown here wore their facial covering until they entered the bathroom, thoroughly washed it with dish soap and water, and brought it to their room to air dry. Always allow your mask to dry completely before reuse. If you do not have dish soap at your disposal, please use the provided hand soap in the community bathrooms.
Welcome back to Please Excuse our momentary interruption of sports from your regular daily schedule. The Brewers have barely made the playoffs last year with a record of 500 of 29-31, just underneath that. Can the Milwaukee Brewers make the playoffs this year?
I think they can because of the additions that they've made with Jackie Bradley Jr. and Colton Wong, 2 Gold Glovers. It'll add a defense and especially on the offense side of the ball. They really do a great job, especially Colton Wong leading off. That brings a power to the Brewers lineup, brings some energy to the lineup. Yeah, it was good with Yelich and Kane, but I think this adds a whole other addition to the lineup. I think that they really can go far, especially given how fairly weak the NL Central is.
Let's be honest. Only 5 teams actually make it into the NL League playoffs, and only 5 from the AL. That's only 10 teams. Look, it's pretty simple here. Let me just read my paper right here. The Dodgers and Padres are making the playoffs from the NL West, which already locks up a division and a wild card spot. Those are arguably the 2 best teams in the entire league. And then you have the Cardinals, who I think are going to win the Central. Either that or it's going to be Cubs or Brewers might sneak in there, but I really don't think so. Because in the East, the Braves and Nationals, don't forget the Nationals just won the World Series 2 years ago. So if they're able to return 2 teams to the postseason, there's not enough wild card spots for the Brewers.
Yeah, I would agree with that, but the Nationals took a dive last year as well as the Brewers. But I really do think that the Brewers have something to offer, and I think especially with the relief pitching, with Hader and Devin Williams coming back from injury last year, Devin Williams can deal, and he is absolutely going to be a really good asset for this Brewers team going down the stretch. He's a great relief pitcher, and they obviously the starting pitching is a weakness for the Brewers, but if they can have pitchers step up and be impact and give them impact innings, I think they can go far.
Yeah, you just said it yourself. If their starting pitching doesn't show up how they need to, they're not going to go anywhere. Because if you have a ton of relievers, that's great. But when you go to the postseason, you got to remember there's a limited roster that they're allowed to have, and they can't pull all those guys from AAA or down from their practice squad. So they have to be able to use the pitchers that they have. And plus, when you have a ton of relief pitchers pitching throughout the game, it's really difficult to get them back on their feet in terms of rest and getting the proper time they need off.
Yeah, I'm actually pretty sure you can move more guys up for the playoffs. But other than that, I think Yelich needs to be back at MVP form. And I think that will make up for a lot of mistakes by the pitching staff because Yelich is an MVP caliber player, and that's why he was brought to Milwaukee, to be that offensive power in the lineup. And especially if you have guys like Kane, Yelich, and Garcia in the outfield as well, I think you're just building around players that you can build around Yelich. And so that's why Yelich has to be the MVP frontrunner in order for the Brewers to make playoffs.
I agree with that. I think he definitely has to be a part of the MVP conversation to even have a chance. But let's say this, the Brewers make the playoffs. Do you think they have a shot at the World Series?
I'm going to say no because I think just because of how stacked the NL is, but I do think the Brewers can sneak into a playoff spot like they did last season. And if they can make it last season, I think they can do it this season, especially given the talent that's the young stars that are part of this Brewers roster. I think they have enough to sneak them into a wild card spot at least.
Yeah, and I think that's still where we disagree here is because there's so many wildcard spots that we could take in. Yeah, I don't think they're going to get the first wildcard spot, given, let's say they win their division, okay? Obviously, they're not going to have the 1 or 2 seed, but they're definitely going to have to play in a wildcard matchup because if you look at the teams that they have in the NL, it's just completely stacked.
Yeah, I would agree with that, but you're going to have for the Brewers, you're going to have role players step up, like role players like Travis Shaw and Daniel Vogelbach are going to have to step up and be impact-type players.
Next up, NHL's rescheduling nightmare, then the king of the leagues. We'll be right back here with more PEOMIOSFYRDS.
Turn us on. Flip them off. 91.7 WSUW. The Edge. 91.7 is a student-run radio station serving the Whitewater area with a variety of original programs, live sports broadcasting, community events, and more. So turn us on. 91.7 FM. Or stream us live at 917theedge.com.
UW Whitewater Athletics, a relentless pursuit of excellence across 22 sports, powered by a tradition of success. 20 national championships, 17 since 2002. 61 individual national titles. 24 National Athletes of the Year. 616 All-Americans. 115 Conference Scholar Athletes of the Year. 1,500 community service hours annually. Be a part of the tradition and join the Warhawk family.
As an Army ROTC cadet at Whitewater, you have the opportunity to develop into a great leader while learning and applying the Army values to your everyday life. Within ROTC, you have the chance to travel overseas in the CULP program to train with other militaries, attend many elite Army schools such as Airborne and Combat Diver, and you have the opportunity to attend conferences and guest lectures by some of the Army's top-ranking officers. Our Warhawk cadets participate in many extracurricular activities, Division III sports, Greek life, intramural sports, among many other team building and community service events. Being a cadet at Whitewater is more than just being part of the Army. It's also about being active members in our community and coming together to form a family atmosphere. Anyone who wants to be a part of something bigger than themselves while developing themselves professionally should consider UW Whitewater ROTC. To sign up for UW Whitewater ROTC, go to the 4th floor of McCutcheon Hall to room 417.
For the health and safety of those living on campus, all residence hall water fountains have been turned off. However, the refill component remains active, so students can fill up their water bottles hands-free.
Welcome back to Please Excuse Our Momentary Interruption of Sports from your regular daily schedule. The NHL has been hit massively by COVID-19 recently, forcing them to have to reschedule over 30 games. Is the NHL handling COVID-19 correctly?
I think they are, because they're still having games being played, and it honestly it's a case-by-case basis with which club is being hit the most. If you look at more teams on the East Coast, like the Washington Capitals, Boston Bruins, and the Pittsburgh Penguins, they're being hit very hard because of their star players being out, which affects them getting points in the standings. And so I think they're taking the necessary precautions to handling this well. They're making sure that teams don't go to the rink too early. They're having better airflow behind the benches. They're getting tested every day. And so I think they're doing the necessary steps to try and get games and furthermore, and getting games scheduled.
You just said that they implemented all those things. Do you know when they started implementing them? Guess. Give me a guess.
This season?
February 2021, exactly. They don't do a lot of things right. They just required their players to wear masks when not exercising. Am I missing something here? Like, shouldn't they have been wearing masks the whole time in the locker room?
Yeah, I think they should have, but I think it's on the players to make sure that they do wear a mask and then make sure that they are being safe and doing social distancing and doing all that. But again, it's on it's on the team, and so but say for example the Blackhawks, like they haven't had a case since last year or early in the season, and that's been it. And so it honestly depends on each team that you're looking at.
Yeah, I see what you mean there, but at the same time, it's the league's responsibility to keep everybody safe. I get it that you have to take it by case, but at the same time, like as for example, implementing rapid testing to their players, that should have been done like 8 months ago, for crying out loud. I don't think the NHL is doing nearly enough to even help their players. They're starting to take better precautions now, seeing how the NBA did their bubble system, but they just started doing that. And when was the NBA bubble? Last summer. Why is this?
Yeah, but teams are then making it more of a mandate to have more responsibility for the players. And even if it's just one case, then you have to make sure that you keep that contained and to one case, and so make sure that it doesn't spread. Say, going back to the Blackhawks example, they had a couple cases and they haven't had it since then. So clearly it's something that they're doing right, and it's something that the teams need to do better at. The NHL is doing all the precautions. And so the Blackhawks are obviously part of the NHL, and so they're doing something right. So maybe other teams need to focus and be better and better execute to being better off the ice.
Do you think with all the rescheduling they have to do you think they'll actually finish out the season?
I think they will, because they're putting emphasis on getting the games played. Even if it's rescheduled, they're getting them played. Like the NFL, like Roger Goodell even said that they are trying to get all the games in that are scheduled. And so I think the NHL is going to do the same. They have all these games that are going to be rescheduled, going to be played out. Teams are going to have to get through the tough stretches when they have a couple games in a couple days, because obviously there's no room for error.
Yeah, I think they'll finish it out, but it'll be a kind of a weak season. We saw last year, all 4 1 seeds, if I'm correct, they actually lost in the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. But this year, with all the 23, too many games, like they have 23 games they have to reschedule. I think when it comes to seeding, they have to distribute it so that each team is playing the same amount of games. Otherwise, it just doesn't make sense. And how can you get a fair judgment of who the best team is?
Yeah, I would agree with that, but the NHL actually moved their divisions, and so now they have 4 different divisions: Canada's division, West Division, Central, and then East. And so those are actually, you only play your teams in your division, and so I think that was a great way to divide the playoffs. And so if you don't play your games, you don't get in the playoffs, and that's just how it is, because, I mean, you just got to get points when you can.
Next up, the king of the leagues, right after this commercial break.
At the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater, we're passionate about learning. Our talented faculty members blend teaching with research, creating hands-on learning experiences for students. Warhawk Pride thrives at UW-Whitewater, where student-athletes excel on the field and in the classroom, where diversity is celebrated. A tradition of excellence. Find your passion here.
Video One Media Services provides accomplished students the opportunity to enhance their college experience by working with real-world clients. In addition, we provide clients local and affordable video options to better enhance their media needs. For more information on how Video One Media Services can help you with your next media project, email or call our office at 262-472-5659.
UW Athletics, a relentless pursuit of excellence across 22 sports, powered by a tradition of success. 20 national championships, 17 since 2002. 61 individual national titles. 24 National Athletes of the Year. 616 All-Americans. 115 Conference Scholar Athletes of the Year. 1,500 community service hours annually. Be a part of the tradition and join the Warhawk family.
Practicing social distancing is imperative to maintaining safety in the residence halls this year in lounges and common areas. For kitchens and laundry rooms, we have capped occupancy at 2 students in these spaces at any given time. Students will not be allowed to wait for their laundry in the laundry rooms, and if 2 students are already in the space switching laundry, please wait outside for one to leave. We ask that those using these spaces are efficient with their time, so all students have the option to use the common areas as needed. We thank you in advance for your cooperation.
Welcome back to Please Excuse Our Momentary Interruption of Sports from your regular daily schedule. Each sports league brings something to value in the world of sports, but only one can reign supreme above the others. Is the MLB or the NFL the best sports league?
It's clearly the NFL because of the players that are in it. For example, Mahomes, Brady, Rodgers, the list goes on because they have they're known worldwide, and that's why people tune in to watch those games. Each game is an excitement. Each game is so interesting. Even if you you play in the regular season, like last year, the Chiefs versus Panthers game was supposed to be a blowout by the Chiefs, but the Panthers ended up making a game out of it because it's just that interesting. You don't know what to expect. I think football has got a complete stranglehold on being the best league of across the leagues.
I think they're giving MLB a run for their money. I mean, over the years, I feel like the history of the MLB is just so great, and I think the NFL is slowly taking over. But the reason I think the MLB is still the best league, is because it's the only one where you have to continue playing defense when the game is in crunch time. Even if you're blowing out a team, like in basketball or football, in the NFL you can take a knee. In the NBA you can dribble the ball out. And the MLS, the Major League Soccer, you can just kick the ball around until the game's done or even get it into the corner. But with the MLB, you have to continue playing the game throughout. There is no mercy rule like there is in college. In the MLB, you have to continue playing the game the whole time. You can't just say it's done or chew the clock out.
Yeah, but then you could also say that about the NHL, and like you have to keep playing defense until the clock hits zero. But I think the NFL does a great job of making the interest so great that they have a lot of fans worldwide. Like they're scheduling games overseas, they're scheduling games in London, they're scheduling games in Mexico because the interest is just that great. They have experiences like even in the off season, like the NFL Play 60 and the NFL training camps. They do a great job of showing all the work that the players do in the community. I think it's a great job for the NFL. I think the NFL is clearly taking over as the best league.
The NFL, yeah, they're getting that broader reach, but if you look at who has a greater reach across not in the United States, but in the entire globe, I think it has to be the MLB. You look at players coming from Korea, from Japan, you're looking at players coming all the way from Mexico to the Dominican Republic, so I think that's a big point to add too.
Yeah, I would agree that is a point in the MLB's favor of having worldwide players.
That'll do it for us here tonight. Thank you for watching, and tune in next time to hear more hot takes all around the world of sports. This has been, please excuse our momentary interruption of sports from your regular daily schedule on UWW-TV.